Lots of things going on. You talk about multi-sport athletes, MMA, and professional wrestling. Seems like the norm. It's getting to be the norm these days. You see UFC and WWE merging. And even in the past, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, CM Punk. You go down the line. It's what an incredible time to be an MMA fighter and a professional wrestler. He is both Mr. Austin Green, the Bodyguard. Love the nicknames. The Bodyguard is here. Austin, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So listen, you got coming up some things where we get right into it. Fury FC. Tell us about that. April 23rd. Where's it going to be? What are you doing with the MMA with Fury FC?
April 23rd, Houston, Texas. I will be fighting Juan Adams, UFC vet, and also PFL vet as well.
And I'm curious, Austin, because will that be covered? Will that be seen via UFC Fight Pass? What's going to happen there with the streaming and the show itself?
Yes, sir. It'll be on UFC Fight Pass. So anyone who's got UFC Fight Pass will click on the link, look it up, watch the fight. It's going to be a good one.
Being a part of Fury FC, what does that mean to you, and how does that help elevate you? And obviously, you have UFC eyes on you.
It's good because it's a big promotion. It's a well-known promotion. I know Mick Maynard, one of the matchmakers for the UFC, also he comes to some of those events as well. So it's a good promotion to get more eyes, and the more eyes you get on you, the more fans you can make. The more fans you can make, the more money you can make. So it's just all around a good promotion to be on.
The Bodyguard is getting ready. Don't mess with the Bodyguards. You go anywhere you want. You don't mess with the Bodyguard. That's what I'm saying right there. So it's going to be April 23rd, Fury FC. He's going to bring the Fury with him. So, Austin, how did you get involved with MMA? And then how did you get to Fury FC?
So I got involved with MMA. I was playing a little arena football at first. And then one of my buddies that I played with, he said I'd be good to, he said I would do good in MMA and I should give it a shot. And he told me about a gym to train at. So I'm the type of person, I'll try anything once. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I went to the gym, told the coach I was interested in, trying MMA. I started doing jiu-jitsu, doing the kickboxing, and probably within 3-4 months after starting my training, I had my first amateur fight and just been going ever since.
And then what was it like getting the call to compete for Fury FC?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So my managers had called me and offered me a fight for Fury. And originally I'd been fighting for B2 pretty much my entire career, which is also a great promotion. But then they called me, offered me a fight for the Fury. And, Fury's on UFC Fight Pass. So I was always down for that. Any chance to be on a UFC network where a lot of eyeballs from the UFC can see the fights and stuff like that, I was down to fight instantly.
When that call occurs, are you thinking in your head, hey, things are starting to go for me now. I must be doing something right. Or you don't look at it that way?
For sure. When they was like Fury FC's on UFC Fight Pass, I was like, well, that's pretty much the next step in taking that, that jump to the UFC. I'm like, you get on UFC Fight Pass, you win a couple fights on there, you got a decent record. The calls will definitely start coming in soon.
So now your background, tell me a little bit about growing up. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to high school and play football? And did you do any college?
I grew up down here in Newnan, Georgia. I went to high school at East Coveta High School and also Newnan High School. Played a little football. I wasn't too good in high school football, so I didn't really get a college scholarship or anything like that. So when I got out of high school, I went straight to the military. And then I started playing some football in the military. That's when I really started to develop my athletic skill and stuff like that.
That part itself is interesting because that's later in life, getting involved in a professional sport like that. What was it like doing it and going through that process? And then you mentioned Arena League football. So you were able to land on an arena team. What team and what was that experience like too?
I started playing for the Peach State Cats. I had a couple semi-pro games that I, was able to come up with some film, kind of send out to some arena teams. They reached out and brought me in for a tryout, and literally I got offered to play for them the very same day, and that was actually fun. Actually, my very first game playing arena ball, I had to go up against Greg Hardy back when he was playing back when he was playing arena ball. So that was pretty fun. Just going up against him in the arena games.
And you know what's good about that too is the Bodyguard can now fight Greg Hardy in MMA.
Yeah. Sure.
You take him down arena football, and then you're going to take.
That's right. That's exactly how I look at it.
Austin, it's just interesting too, because when you're in the military, tell me what branch of military service that you served, and what was it like when you're just playing sports in the military, whether it be competitive or just messing around?
I was in the Army, and actually they honestly didn't like me playing football because, you know, I could have got hurt and I could have interfered with service and stuff like that. But like, I was kind of being hard-headed and still did it anyways because, you know, I love the sport of football, and it wasn't interfering with my military schedule or my military work. So I was still able to kind of do both. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
When you're making that decision, how important was it for you to join the Army? Was it something like, okay, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but I do want to do something there? Or was it something you'd always been thinking about?
I mean, I always thought about it when I was a kid, but like coming out of high school, like I didn't really know what exactly I wanted to do in life. I was still trying to figure it out. So, and I was like, well, the military, you know, it's a decent paying job. It can kind of help you get on your feet as an adult and you can figure some stuff out while still getting paid a decent amount of money. So that's when I went in, you know, was trying to still figure out life as I was in the Army.
So then you get into MMA and you're a football player. You did the Arena Football League, did arena type football play. And I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going to guess you weren't a kicker or punter. You're probably a big defensive lineman, O-lineman. Am I right on that?
Yes, sir. I was a defensive end and tight end. Sometimes play fullback.
No, also carried the rock. The Bodyguard carried the rock as well.
That's
so
right.
Austin, give us your height and weight, I guess, back then, and has it changed a little bit since then for MMA?
Back then, I was about 6'4", 6'5", 230, 240 almost. Now I'm still the same height and walking around about 285, 290, 295 at the max.
How important was it to maybe get stronger or bigger? I mean, we see all styles of pro wrestling nowadays anyway. But for you, was there something that you had to get in pro wrestling shape?
In a way, I mean, like I've always had the strength, the size, the speed. It was more just building up that endurance for wrestling and MMA, because that's a different type of cardio than playing football. You know, you run for 10 seconds and then you get the breaks in between each play. But like that cardio shape for wrestling and MMA, it's a different type of cardio.
Now, Austin, do you like the team sports more, or I'm guessing maybe you like the one-on-one competition a little better?
It's tough because I always grew up, you know, loving football and team sports, but then, you know, MMA and wrestling's kind of an individual team in a way, because you still need your team to help you prepare. So, I mean, I guess you still say the team sports, because even in MMA and wrestling, like, it's still a team. You're competing by yourself, but you still need the team to help you get ready and prepare for everything. So you're not just like doing everything on your own, other than when you get in there and fight or when you get in there and wrestle, then it's you and the other person. But as far as like prepping and everything, you still have that team with you.
How different was it for you when you got into pro wrestling? Because here, MMA, you're looking to go out and destroy your opponent and get that victory. Pro wrestling, you want the victory, but it is a little more about protecting your opponent, but making it look good. And it's physical still, and injuries occur. So I do know that. But it's a different mindset. How different was it in training for one and the other? And I guess not going full force, because if you deliver, you deliver.
I mean, it really wasn't too hard to kind of transition, because even as a kid, like I used to always play around and wrestle with my brother and sister. And like, yeah, you don't really know what you're doing, but you still kind of emulate what you see on TV to an extent. So you like, I mean, you know, you're not really trying to hurt them or anything like that. So, I mean, it's not a hard transition to kind of because I know in a fight, like I'm really trying to destroy this person. Like I'm really trying to hurt them. But also when I'm in the ring, like I know the difference between okay, I'm not trying to hurt this person. Like I want to make them look good as well as make myself look good. So it's just kind of knowing how to, like, I've kind of picked it up easily. I wouldn't say too easily, but like it's kind of been an easy transition for me to just doing both.
Well, that will say a testament to your athleticism then. And that's because they are two different entities, and it does take time at times to try to just navigate both worlds. And now you're navigating both worlds. What do you like about MMA and what do you like about pro wrestling?
Honestly, I like the training for MMA just because there's so much stuff to learn, whether it's striking, grappling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Like if there's like a certain day where you just don't feel like striking, you can always go in, learn some grappling, learn some wrestling, learn some jiu-jitsu. And it's just the training that goes into it is like it's fun. It's like you're always learning something new every day. And then wrestling, like there's nothing better than just being in the ring in front of a lot of people and just going out there and just having fun, like just being a character, just kind of it's just fun just being out there, and that adrenaline rush that you get from being in front of all those people, everybody's cheering or booing or whatever. Like it's I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's like a drug, but it's definitely like you get like a certain high feeling that it's just like, man, this is crazy.
So when you start your journey with MMA and pro wrestling, which one came first, and where and how did you find a place to train?
MMA came first originally, and then through training MMA, I met a guy who told me about a gym, like a wrestling school down here in Atlanta, the Nightmare Factory, that was run by Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall. So once he told me about that gym, then I came down and started training with them.
Who do you credit for your MMA training?
My original coach, Josh Johnson, he was the jiu-jitsu coach up in Kentucky that I trained with. And then now it's my my MMA coach, Doug Usher. He teaches me like all my MMA and stuff like that, and he helps me put everything together.
Who will be in your corner then for Fury FC April 23rd on UFC Fight Pass?
My coach, Doug Usher, is going to be there. And my partner, Larry Green, he's one of my training partners. He's been with me through all my pro fights, so he'll be there with me as well.
You think one day we might see one of the pro wrestlers in your corner?
Possibly.
It's interesting because of the crossover element of it too, because that could go the other way as well. Maybe one of your MMA sparring partners or even coaches could be with you in the corner of a pro wrestling match. Tell me a little bit more about your pro wrestling career. Nightmare Factory, incredible. What is it like with the coaches there and the different talent that's training there?
It's great because like it's a I wouldn't say it's like a main hub for AEW stars, but like a lot of AEW wrestlers train at that school. There's a lot of AEW wrestlers that got their start training at that school. So it's just good being at that school because like you get introduced to so many people that are actually doing it at a high level, and you get to learn from them. Billy Gunn also coaches there, so you get to learn from some like Hall of Famers and people that have been in the business forever. And it's so much to learn, so many people to learn from and get better. Like it's an amazing, like I love going there to train.
I would think with your background and how fit you are in your athleticism, that they must have been like eyes wide open, big eyes when they saw you walk into the Nightmare Factory.
It's like it's funny because there's like even certain stuff, like we'll do drills and there'll be certain drills like they'll look and they'll be like, there's no way a guy your size should be able to move like you move, do some of the stuff that I do. So that like even to this day, like I still shock them just certain stuff, like we'll do certain drills or like certain moves, and it still shocks them like how I move around and take certain moves and stuff like that.
Hey, have you done any independent wrestling in Florida?
I've done a couple dark tapings down in Orlando. I've done a couple dark tapings when they was in Jacksonville. I haven't been down to Miami, but soon I'll be down that way.
I know some of the guys with Nightmare Factory, women too, have competed on the indie circuits here with a group called Coastal Championship Wrestling, which has been around for 19 years. And WWE alum Gangrel is one of the main trainers there. Has been there for a few years now, helping that out. But it's a good organization, so maybe one day we'll see you on a CCW show too. But I'm really curious about, I know now the connection between you and AEW through the Nightmare Factory. So tell me what it was like your first time going out to AEW, and was it in Orlando, or no, it would have been Jacksonville maybe. That would have been the first time you're doing that. What was that whole experience like for you? Do you remember who you worked against?
Yeah, my very first time going down, it was Jacksonville. I had my very first dark match against Frankie Kazarian. And just being down there, I was kind of starstruck because there were so many wrestlers that I knew just growing up as a kid, like walking around. I'm like, well, that's Chris Jericho, or that's like, John Moxley, like a lot of wrestlers that I've been watching since growing up, and I'm just like seeing them, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then I would call my dad, and he'd be like, no, like he's been a huge wrestling fan. So when I call him and tell him who I'm seeing and talking to, like, it would just blow his mind.
Was Dad a Sting fan?
Yeah, he was a huge Sting fan. My dad's been a wrestling fan since before I was born. So
who do you go to when you were growing up? You were watching it then with your dad. Did your dad take you to some shows? Did you ever get to see wrestling at the Omni?
I never got to see any live shows because we weren't able to afford them. But like we was always watching them on TV and stuff like that. So like that's really just how it was. We just sit down every night, watch them on TV, watch wrestling on TV.
Who did you like? Did you have any faves?
I was a Stone Cold fan. Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, all those kind of guys.
Yes, the Bodyguard. The Bodyguard is there. Do you smell what the Bodyguard is cooking? That's what I'm saying. We're going to say now.
Yeah,
it's right. So cool. It's so much fun. It is so cool. And it's just a whole other entertainment. But the thing is, think about this, Austin. So you've done some dark, AEW Dark, and you also done AEW Dark Elevation. Have you been able to be around AEW Dynamite, Rampage? Have you been at those shows? And have you got to do anything, even security for them on air?
Yeah, I've done a couple of Dynamites. That was a couple things I got to work security for, like when they were doing like the Wardlow MJF angle. Like we got to come in, a couple times we had to pull Wardlow back, stuff like that. So I've done a couple Dynamite shows and stuff like that.
Austin, you're a big guy, but what was it like trying to hold Wardlow back?
It wasn't too bad. We had like 5 other guys helping us, so I mean it wasn't too bad.
It's so incredible. And what do you think about AEW and just how they give opportunities to young indie talent?
Oh yeah, it's great. Like every week they're going to different states, different cities, and they're giving the indie talent out there chances to work, kind of see what they can do, put themselves over. So I mean, it's a good platform to definitely like get more eyeballs on you and kind of even work on getting better, because they do help indie talent so much, and they've signed a lot of young indie talent.
What do you think about your goals for pro wrestling and then your goals for MMA? And is it a process that you want to continue to do both simultaneously per se?
Yeah, I would love to still be able to do both if I can. But I mean, if one has to take priority over the other, then I mean, got to do what you got to do to pay the bills. But like, if I'm getting the opportunity to wrestle and fight, like that would be the dream. That would be the dream goal, because I love doing both. I love competing in both.
At a time, Jake Hager was able to do that for a little while. He hasn't been doing MMA lately, but he was able to do that, I believe, for Bellator and also with AEW, and it did it well, was successful with that. And the other thing is, too, when you're trying to navigate through this whole thing, the process of this, MMA, what would you say? Like you're fighting maybe once every few months? How regular is it for you? Because pro wrestling, when you get in the thick of it, if you get in with a bigger company, it's going to be a week to week to week. There's no off season really. And so the process is different there. How's it been so far with your MMA schedule?
It's been pretty good. Mostly so when I'm in fight camp, I don't really take on too many wrestling shows or try to do too many, just because I want to focus on the fight. But outside of camp, and I'm like, I'll take on bookings, I'll do shows, I'll go to wrestling training at least 2-3 days out the week, just stuff like that. So just trying to navigate both it's pretty pretty easy so far. Like even when I'm in fight camp, like I may do training like once a week just to kind of keep the blood flow, keep get a good workout in still.
And I know with Fury FC on April 23rd on a Sunday, UFC Fight Pass, we could see you destroy the Bodyguard, destroying his opponent, getting a victory. Then AEW will be here in South Florida for the first time in Broward County, Sunrise, Fort Lauderdale at FLA Live Arena, which is home of the home of the NHL Florida Panthers hockey team that just made the playoffs. Possibly, maybe we might see you down here they're going to do AEW Dynamite and also live and then tape AEW Rampage. But is that something on your radar? I don't want to, no Don Jardine alerts. I don't want you to give too much away, but what are your thoughts of that so close to Fury FC?
Yeah, possibly. I might be there depending on how the fight goes, depending on how I'm feeling. Like it's a good possibility I still might be down there for that show. So definitely
and Austin, what else do you have coming up? Anything else coming up for you?
No, that's it. Really, just the fight. The fight's coming up on the 23rd, and then maybe some couple dark tapings here coming up soon.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from AEW?
It's been really good. Like, it's been really good feedback. Like, they're really taking an interest in me. Like, the things I'm doing, like, everyone loves it backstage. Like, it's been really, really good so far.
Favorite football team? Are we talking Falcons?
College, I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. The NFL, I was a Rams fan for a long period of time, but I haven't really watched too much NFL lately, so it's kind of, I don't know. I guess you could say I'm still a Rams fan.
Well, you've had good success the last few years. Rams had a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and Georgia, they've been a national champion, and all things are going good. Things are going good for you. Things are going good for your teams.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Austin. Thank you so much for taking the time. Do you have any fan social media you want to share?
Just all my social media handles are going to be the same at the Bodyguard_AG. So, I mean, everything's the same. So you can find me on one, you can find me on the other. It's all the same.
Austin, you've got to watch The Big Boss Man when he was Jim Cornette's bodyguard. Because with his size and your size, and you're the bodyguard, I want to see if you can to go to YouTube and put in there Boss Man, Jim Cornette, bodyguard, and see some of the things he was doing, how he was dressed. It might be something you could tweak or take and maybe parlay that into pro wrestling, because I don't think we have a bodyguard right now in big time pro wrestling.
Okay, for sure. I didn't even think about that one, but I'll definitely keep that one in mind. You said the bodyguard, Jim Cornette. I'm going to look that up later on today.
There he is, the bodyguard, Austin Green. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.